We live in such an instantaneous society today where most of us are used to pushing a button and getting what we want very quickly. I find that this mentality has bled over into the rest of our lives. We have become so privileged that not only do we want to receive our wants quickly, but we also feel extremely entitled to what we want. In all my years, I have witnessed how quickly our world has changed in such a short time. It was such a different time when I was young. We did not have social media, barely had television. Our phones were attached to a wall in our house. Our technology was very limited, and we played outside with our imagination. This is not a story about the good old days. It is simply about getting what we want, what we desire, based on the universe's timing, and not because we can simply go online for answers and acquire stuff. I have spoken with many clients seeking answers and outcomes, yet are frustrated with how long it is taking for these things to manifest. I wanted to specifically discuss the reception of answers and guidance from the universe, spirit world, God, or wherever one believes they are guided. I know many people who pray intensely and often and expect answers to their prayers, yet many of them are still waiting for any clear direction. This could simply be because they are doing all the talking and are just not listening. However, my belief and experience show that receiving information or answers at the wrong time simply does not do anyone any good. The universe is completely willing to furnish the information that we need in our lives, but also is aware of when this information is best received. Imagine receiving information about quantum physics as a toddler. Now that is clearly good information to have, but what good would that information do at that time? Not much, of course. And I know this is an extreme example, but this is what most of us are asking of the universe. We all seem to want enormous knowledge without the capacity or willingness to do anything with that information, much like a child would getting high-level physics information. The experience of my clients, and my own personal experience, have shown that getting the right information at the right time is what the universe actually does. As a psychic medium, I receive information from the spirit world for my clients, and the majority of the time, the information is relevant and means something to the client. Other times, information comes through that makes no sense at the time I provide it to them. The one thing that I have learned by connecting with others is that everything that is received means something, but sometimes the information is for a purpose in the future and will make sense at some point. I have personally received information through my meditation journeys that did not make any sense for an entire year, and even as far as 5 years before the information made complete sense. You may wonder why the universe would provide information years in advance. My personal opinion, based on my experience, is that the spiritual world has no relevance to time. What might be a second of our time in the spiritual world might represent years in our measured linear time. When I regress clients into the spiritual world, I find that time does not truly exist, where the past, present, and future all happen at once. So when the information is passed on from the spiritual world, it will fall into place when it is supposed to. I have many examples, but I wanted to give you one that I was privy to recently. I had someone reach out to me to describe an experience that just blew their mind. For 20+ years, this person has been visited by an entity, a very specific person with a very specific name. However, validation for these visitations escaped them for a very long time, and they were beginning to think they were making this person up in their own mind. Recently, their spouse decided to process their DNA history through one of the most popular providers. This experience manifested in them finding a long-lost sibling who had been unknown for 61 years due to a sealed adoption, and this new sibling lived only 20 miles from their home. But the story gets more interesting. This long-lost sibling had a daughter that was murdered in their 20s, and you probably guessed it, this young lady who, by her looks, age, and the name, was the exact person that my friend had been envisioning for 20 years. Now imagine if this person had been given validation when they first saw this young lady. It would not have been quite as profound as it is going to be right now after finding the young lady's mother after 61 years. This is what I would like to call divine timing, the perfect time for information to be validated, to facilitate the most elaborate and enlightening experience for all involved. Now I have not always been good at accepting information that didn't make sense and found myself writing this off to my active imagination. My mentor gave me some advice that changed my life. She told me that it is not my function to always interpret or make sense of information that I received for myself and my clients. My job was to just document the information or pass it on to my clients. No matter how silly some information sounds, I was to simply pass on to others what I received and help them make sense of the information. I have had some of the strangest messages come through, but much of this strange information made perfect sense to my clients. Over time, I have settled in on passing on what I get because I know without a doubt that all information is relevant. What kind of thoughts, dreams, or gut feelings have you had that did not seem to make sense, yet at some point it does? How much of this information do you have yet to become validated? Remember that what guides us knows exactly what it is doing. It is not necessarily our function to make sense of such a high level of intelligent design. I challenge you to stop and listen, to hear what you are supposed to hear and to learn what you need to learn. Remember that everything happens exactly when it is supposed to. Are you listening?